This is a continuation of an adversary hearing that was initially begun on May the 31st of 2020. Go ahead and ask for announcements for today.
Ursula Rush and Christina Gonzalez for the department ready.
Thank you.
Scott Stilson, attorney for Aaron Poston. He and I are present and announced ready. I would note for record purposes, Judge, that I believe the department had invoked the rule at the previous proceeding. And so if Mr. Bush is going to testify first, then any other witnesses by the department, I suppose, should be put in a separate room, or that the rule be invoked.
Thank you.
Lauren Allen is attorney for the respondent mother, Amber Herring. She is present via Zoom in a different location than me. But we're ready, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sarah Ladd, attorney and guardian ad litem for the child. I'm ready.
Thank you. And Ms. Rush, in regards to invoking the rule, do you have anyone that is currently on the Zoom screen that you anticipate calling other than your representative?
Ms. Herring, but she's a party, Your Honor.
Great. Thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Rush.
Department calls Mr. Bush. Mr. Bush, I assume you know why you were called to testify today, right?
Yes.
So on May 2023, did Lydia come to a sleepover at your house?
Every weekend,
Okay.
except for the last couple.
Okay, so that would have included, I want to look at my calendar, okay? The weekend of May 12th, that would have been the Friday. So what day would she have come?
The 12th on the Friday.
And how long would she normally stay when she came to sleepover?
Just depended on if they had school on the Monday or Tuesday or what. She would stay 2, 3, 4 days, whatever, however long she liked.
Okay, Mr. Bush, I'm slightly hard of hearing and you're cutting out. So I'm going to need you to talk slower. That may be the reason you're cutting out. Did you say it would just depend upon whether she had school on Monday?
Yes, if they were out of school, like Lydia and Roxana, if they were out of school, then she'd stay an extra day or two, depending on when they went back to school or started back to school. Otherwise, it would just be a Saturday and Sunday, and then she would return home to go to daycare and stuff.
So she go home on a Sunday normally?
Sometimes it was Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Do you recall when she was supposed to go home the weekend of the 12th?
Mother's Day weekend?
Okay, we can go with
Yeah,
that.
that was Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, sir, it was.
She was there until after Mother's Day, which was Sunday. So it was either Monday evening, Tuesday, probably Tuesday morning.
Sir, I understand. I'm asking how long was she supposed to be there?
She comes on a Friday, and sometimes, like I said, she'll stay longer than what's supposed to be because she likes to stay with Roxana.
So what I hear you say is that on May 12th, when she came over, there was not a specific date in which she was supposed to return home.
No, I mean, we don't say, all right, here's Roxana we'll be back Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. It's just she comes over, visit with Roxana.
Okay, so this is going to go a lot quicker if you just answer my questions, okay? And I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying, which was there was not she's going home at 3 o'clock Sunday. She was going to go home when she went home.
Yes.
Okay, and did you pick her up or did someone drop her off? How does that work?
Aaron drops her off.
Okay,
at our
and
house.
do you recall him dropping her off the day of Friday the 12th?
I believe I was there when he did drop her off.
Okay, were you usually there when he dropped her off?
Sometimes, just depends on my job.
What do you do?
I work at MSU.
And when he doesn't drop her off, do y'all pick her up?
Sometimes we picked her up.
Okay. If you don't pick her up and he doesn't drop her off, how does she get to your home?
She usually don't come if one of us don't take her.
So it's either Aaron drops her off or one of you pick her up, and there's never anything else other than that in the last, let's say 4 months or so.
No.
Okay.
She's been coming
So
over
Amber
too long.
Herring has
Hold
not
on just a moment. Wait just a minute. Y'all are speaking over each other again.
Has Amber Herring dropped her off in the last 4 or 5 months?
Not that I'm aware of.
If she had dropped her off and you weren't there, would your wife have told you?
Yes, she usually tells me everything.
Okay. So as far as you know, she's not dropped her off. Do you know Matthew Whitehead?
Just met him like once.
When did you meet him?
out in front of the house one time, I believe, when Aaron was over there dropping Lydia off.
When was that?
I'm not even sure, within the last 2 or 3 months.
And at any point, has Mr. Whitehead either picked up or dropped off Lydia?
Just on Mother's Day weekend when Aaron was in the hospital.
Okay, so Mother's Day weekend, do you know if it was Mother's Day or the day after Mother's Day or what?
I believe it was the 16th, Tuesday morning.
And did he pick up Lydia at that point?
Aaron,
Mr. Whitehead?
yeah, I believe Matthew or Matt, or whatever. I know him by Matt.
We'll call him Matt then, okay?
Yeah.
So Matt picked up Lydia on the 16th.
Yes.
Who was with him? I'm sorry, who was with him?
No one that I know of.
Okay, were you there?
No, I was not.
Okay, so you just know this because why?
My wife told me that.
How did you find out Aaron was in the hospital?
I can't remember if Amber called us or came over and told us or what. I don't remember. I believe she called and let us know that he was in the hospital, something about a flesh eating something, and then he was going to be, the next day he was taken to Dallas or somewhere, was what we were told. But come to find out, he went to a different Plano or something.
Okay, what is your wife's first name?
Janet?
So if you say Amber, you're talking about Amber Herring, correct?
Yes.
Just making sure your wife's name wasn't Amber too.
No.
So do you recall when Amber would have told you this?
No.
Was it before or after Mr. Whitehead or Matt picked him up?
It was before Lydia was picked up.
So it would have been sometime between the 12th and the 16th. That sound fair?
Yes.
Okay. At any point, did you hear from Mr. Poston while he was in the hospital?
Me personally, I did not.
Without going into what you may have heard, I'm not going to ask you what may have been said, but had your wife heard from him?
She keeps in more contact with him than I do. Yes.
Okay. But you were never present when he called you, correct?
He's never called me personally. He may have called her while I was around, but I don't know.
Okay. So while you were around, at any point while he was in the hospital, did you hear your wife take a call from Mr. Poston? Just yes or no?
No, I don't believe I overheard a call from her and Aaron.
When Amber came by and told you between the 12th and the 16th that Mr. Poston was in jail?
Objection to the form of the question. I don't believe that was the testimony. I believe the testimony was that she called, not that she came over.
Actually, I think it was she called or came by, but I don't care either way. I'm going to rephrase it. Between the 12th and the 16th, when Ms. Herring told you that Mr. Poston was in the hospital, are you with me?
Yes.
You said that you were not present when she told your wife that, correct?
I was not on the phone, no.
And you weren't listening to your wife's part of the conversation?
No.
At any point, did Ms. Herring specifically speak to you or text you or email you or whatever to tell you about Mr. Poston being in the hospital?
No.
When did you find out Mr. Poston got out of the hospital?
Oh, about a week or so ago.
How did you find out?
We heard it, that he was back. His car is out in front of our house.
Mr. Poston's?
Yes.
Okay. Stupid question. Do you have your own cell phone?
Yes, I do.
Does Mr. Poston have your cell number?
He does.
Did he ever at any point contact you specifically with instructions on what to do with Lydia because he was in the hospital?
No.
The one time you met Mr. Whitehead, was that literally the only time you've ever met Mr. Whitehead?
It wasn't like a personal meeting. It was just, he was there and he said, this is Matt. That's all I knew of the guy. I've never
you said
seen him
hi.
before. Huh?
You said hi and he said
Yeah.
hi. Okay. And once again, you were not present when Matt picked up Lydia on May 16th.
No. I was
Did
at
you
work.
ever see Lydia after May 16th?
No,
Have you seen Amber since May 16th?
no,
Have you heard from Amber since May 16th?
no,
Have you seen, other than, don't count this because I mean, it's a Zoom and you can technically see people. Have you seen Mr. Poston since May 16th?
no,
Have you been in contact, phone or text or emails or whatever with Mr. Poston since May 16th?
I have not.
Has your wife, just yes or no, don't tell me what was
Yes.
said. And I take it you were not present when Mr. Poston or Miss Amber or Miss Herring may have had conversations with your wife.
No, I work during the day.
But you know what I mean? Sometimes they're talking to somebody else and you're just standing there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Has Mr. Poston ever told you anything about Mr. Whitehead?
No.
What do you know about Miss Herring's criminal history?
What do I know about it?
Yeah, in general.
I went through the CPS with Roxana when we got her, so I know quite a bit of Amber's past history.
Do you know anything about her current history?
Not much, except for what we heard a week ago at this meeting deal.
What meeting?
This, whatever hearing or whatever that y'all had.
Okay, you listened in on the YouTube?
My wife did.
Okay, where were you?
I was probably working or maybe got home right as it was going off.
And then your wife told you what happened?
Sort of, she just said a couple things.
Like what?
That Lydia was taken away because Amber wasn't supposed to be around her. We did not know that. We didn't
Your
know
Honor,
anything about Amber's current problems or anything.
Your Honor, at this time, the department objects to all testimony by Mr. Bush and asks that he be stricken as a witness in violation of the rule which was invoked.
You have a response, Mr. Stilson?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe Mr. Bush has testified that he did not listen to any of the testimony or watch the video. So he would not be in violation of the rule.
Yes, ma'am, but he talked to someone who wasn't technically in the courtroom by watching the video, which is a violation of the rule.
Ms. Allen, do you have a response?
I don't think that, it sounds like from Mr. Bush's testimony that whatever was relayed to him wasn't anything substantial enough to impact his testimony to change his answers to any of the questions in any way. If anything, it sounds like it would be negative to both Scott and I's testimony of what he was informed of.
Your Honor,
Mrs. Ladd, I'm sorry, y'all give me a moment. Ms. Ladd, do you have a response?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have a position?
No, Your Honor.
I'm going to go ahead and allow Mr. Bush's testimony.
so it was only after the YouTube video last week, I think it was, that you found out that Miss Herring was not supposed to have any contact with Lydia.
Yes.
So when Mr. Poston would drop the child off, he didn't tell you that?
No, I didn't ask. Didn't know anything about it.
Okay. And at any point, have you had, just yes or no, have you had reason to believe that Miss Herring has been having contact with Lydia?
No.
So where did Miss Herring tell you she's living?
In an apartment over off of Taft Street.
If Mr. Poston had texted you and said, I'm in the hospital, please let Lydia stay with you until I get out, what would your response have been?
There would have been no problem with that.
If he had texted you and said, Miss Herring isn't supposed to have any contact with her, please make sure Lydia doesn't have contact while I'm in the hospital, what would have been your response?
We wouldn't have let her around Amber, Miss Herring.
At any point, did you become aware that Mr. Whitehead is on probation for possession of a controlled substance, meth, 1 to 4 grams?
No,
Had you known that Mr. Whitehead was placed on probation this year for possession of a controlled substance, methamphetamine, 1 to 4 grams, how would you have felt about having him pick up Lydia?
I probably would have been pretty leery about it, but
Did anyone tell you that it was okay for Mr. Whitehead to pick up Lydia?
no,
Just yes or no, did you know if anyone told your wife that it was okay for Mr. Whitehead to pick up Lydia?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. Your wife didn't mention it.
No,
Are you aware, just generically, of the current charges against Miss Herring?
I do not know of all the current charges against Miss Herring. No.
Do you know that there are some?
Yes,
Okay. Were you expecting Lydia to come back to your home after Matt picked her up that day?
No, I wasn't for sure what was going on with Aaron being in the hospital.
Um,
Didn't know if he was out yet or not.
where does your daughter go to school? Where does Roxanne go to school?
She goes to
And how old is she?
7.
Have you ever taken Lydia to daycare?
No,
Has your wife ever taken her to daycare?
no, not that I'm aware of.
Did you ever attempt to contact Mr. Poston while he was in the hospital?
No,
Do you know if Mr. Poston and Miss Herring are a couple?
I believe they are.
And just so you know, I mean romantic. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Why do you believe they are a romantic couple?
I have no reason not to believe it.
Has Mr. Poston ever said anything about that?
No,
Has Miss Herring?
no,
Are you surprised that Mr. Poston's been bailing Miss Herring out when she gets arrested?
no.
Why are you not surprised?
I would do the same for my wife.
Do you ever let Miss Herring have unsupervised contact with Roxanne?
She
Objection,
owns her own
relevance.
name. She's never asked.
Hold on, just one moment. Hold on, just one moment. I'm going to overrule that. You can answer that now, Mr. Bush.
It's just yes or no. Have you ever let her have unsupervised contact with Roxanne?
It's always been at our house. No,
Pass the witness.
Mr. Stilson.
Thank you. Long story short, Mr. Bush, so this weekend from May 12th to Mother's Day on Sunday and past, you didn't see Amber Herring at your house, did you?
no,
Okay. You don't have any reason to believe she was at the house, do you?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And for at least the last couple of months, you haven't seen Ms. Herring. Aaron Poston has not brought over Ms. Herring to y'all's house with Lydia.
No,
Okay. You haven't seen Aaron Poston and Amber Herring together with Lydia at your house or anywhere else in the last few months?
no,
Okay. And you're not aware of Aaron Poston ever giving, again, we're talking about since the snake bite or, during the snake bite, giving Amber Herring permission to take Lydia or anything like that, are you?
no.
Okay. And when you say the romantic couple, is that just based on what you saw a while back, or is that something recent?
Just from when I've seen them for the last few months or whatever. It's just,
Okay.
I didn't know that they were actually living separated for a while.
But they haven't talked to you about their relationship or anything like that?
No,
Okay. So is it fair to say it maybe your presumption or assumption that they're currently, like today, a romantic item is only based on stuff you saw a while back? Am I understanding?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
I haven't seen them together in a while, so
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Mr. Bush, so when Aaron brings Lydia over, does she seem happy?
she's always really happy.
Okay. Does he seem like a good dad to you?
Yes,
Okay. So from what you've seen, provides her love,
yes,
provides her stability,
yes,
safe and stable living environment.
yes.
Okay. But were you surprised when you found out he got care flighted off that he wasn't blowing up y'all's phone?
No,
Okay. And why not?
Aaron don't never blow up our phones.
Okay. And you knew he was going through some pretty serious medical issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Miss Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bush, how long has Lydia been coming over and doing these weekend visits with Roxanne?
At least for the last 6 months, every weekend straight,
Okay. Are her and her sister pretty close?
real close.
Would it be fair to say you guys try to facilitate as much time with them together as possible?
Yes,
Okay. And so it's not out of the ordinary for her to be dropped off and then kind of decide when they're ready for her to come home if there's no school or something like that. Are they kind of begging to be around each other as much as possible?
It's kind of like Liddy decides when she wants to go home more than them.
Okay. And does your wife work?
No,
Okay. Do you know if Lydia's had anything at school that week that she was being taken to school after Mother's Day?
I'm not sure what was going on with her school.
Did anyone ever talk to you about her having a graduation?
No,
Okay. When you interacted with Mr. Whitehead, did he seem to be under the influence of anything at that time?
when I met, it was just hi and that was it. That's all.
Okay. Do you trust Mr. Poston's judgment as a dad?
Yes,
Do you think he's a good dad?
yes.
Okay. Did CPS come and talk to you or your wife after that weekend, after Mother's Day?
They haven't talked to me and I don't think they've talked to my wife.
So they did not give you any parameters that you needed to follow as with
No.
Lydia. Okay. Okay. If you had been advised that Mr. Whitehead was not to be around Lydia, would you have let him take her to school?
No,
And do you think your wife would have?
no, she wouldn't.
Is it fair to say that you guys are pretty familiar with the CPS system?
Yes,
Did you two both believe that you were following all the rules that you were supposed to be following?
yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Flat.
Have you been to Mr. Poston's house in the last year?
We went out there one time. We were out looking at a house out at Lake Kickapoo. We stopped by his house. One time is the only time I've been to his house.
Do you know about when that was?
Probably around Christmas time, maybe January.
Okay. Did you go inside the house?
No, there was nobody home.
Okay. And do you know if you or your wife are on the pickup list at Lydia's daycare?
I do not know.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ms.
Mr.
Rush.
Bush, you said you believe that Mr. Poston's a good dad and has made, I think you might not have been good judgment, but it was something like that. Do you remember as a father?
Yes,
Okay. Do you think it's really good judgment to, instead of having your good friends, the Bushes, who will take care of Lydia under any circumstance, to let someone who's on probation for possession 1 to 4 grams for meth pick up and take care of your kid? Do you think that's a good judgment?
I couldn't answer that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what he was thinking or anything. I don't.
Well, then why did you base your opinion that Mr. Poston uses good judgment on a father on?
Well, talking to Lydia, she's never said anything bad about him. She loves him, and she's not ever said anything bad about Aaron.
Okay, well, has she said anything bad about Amber? Just yes
No.
or no? You know, Amber's got some serious baggage as a mother.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Okay. Well, you have Roxanne in your home, right?
Yes,
And you have Roxanne in your home for a reason, correct?
yes,
Okay. So just generically, do you think it shows good judgment to, instead of having good, upstanding people take care of your child when you're hospitalized, to choose a guy who's on probation for 1 to 4 grams of meth?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
Just generically, not necessarily Mr. Poston, just generically.
You can answer that question, Mr. Bush.
can you repeat it?
I can sure try. Do you think just generically it shows good judgment as a parent to allow a person who's on probation for 1 to 4 grams of meth to pick up and take care of your child instead of letting a long-term upstanding family take care of her?
No, that wasn't a good judgment call.
Okay, pass the witness.
Mr. Stilson,
Nothing further.
Ms. Allen,
Just briefly, Your Honor, Mr. Bush, if you don't know the answer to that, that's okay. This question, that's okay. Do you know whether or not Mr. Poston was on any type of narcotics when he was making these decisions or directing you guys what to do with Lydia?
I do not know if he was on medication or what.
Okay, so you weren't advised of what was going on with him specifically at the hospital?
No, I pretty much figured that he was on something because if they were flying him to Dallas, it had to be something pretty serious.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Ladd,
Nothing further.
may this witness be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bush.
Thank you.
Mr. Stilson, do you need to go across and zoom in?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be right back if the court will allow that.
That should be a word if it isn't.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Bush.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Rush, do you have any other witnesses at this time?
Department calls Amber Herring.
You may proceed.
I'm pretty sure we've covered this previously, but you are Amber Herring and Lydia is your daughter and Mr. Poston's her father, right? And I cannot hear you. Why can I not hear you?
My voice is, I'll try to speak closer. Just allergies, I guess, messed my throat up. So, but I'm here.
I could hear that, but when you leaned back, I couldn't hear you. So I need you to stay forward. I'm not going to ask you a whole lot of questions. Okay. First of all, is Mr. Whitehead your cousin?
Yes, he is.
Okay. How is he related to you?
So his mother and my father are related by marriage. My dad's father's name is Weldon. His brother's name, his sister was married to a man named Pee Wee, who was then married to family member, I guess it would be a woman, of course, on the Ladd side of the family. And that's how we're related by marriage, basically. We went to high school together.
Okay, that's okay. Your father is related by marriage to his mother.
Yes. Short
And is he living with you now?
No.
Has he been living with you?
No. He lives out in the country, so during times whenever he would come over and maybe shower at the house, or if he needed to sleep, you know what I mean? During the daytime he works. So, but live with me. He's never lived.
Are you aware that he's listed your apartment address as his address with probation?
I was not aware of that, but then I became aware of it. Yes. I think it was just because.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to keep them short because of your voice. Okay. So when did you become aware that he has listed your address with probation?
About a month ago.
Okay. Did he just yes or no? Did he tell you why?
Yes.
Okay. Did you approve of him doing that?
Well, I didn't know that he had done it until about a month ago. So I don't think, it wasn't a
But that's what I meant. When you found out, did you approve?
I understood the reason. So I guess, yes.
So you said it's okay, list my address.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I meant. And how many felonies are you currently charged with?
I believe 5.
In 2 counties?
Yes, ma'am.
And one of them is a possession charge that occurred in February 2023?
Correct.
Okay. Because we're on Zoom, can you see your attorney real well?
No. Can't see her at all. All I can see is you.
Okay. That's going to be a problem. The reason you can only see me is you have under view at the top right-hand corner. You have it clicked as speaker. You need to shift it to gallery, please.
So the top right-hand corner, I believe.
Yeah, it's like a little cube, like a Rubik's Cube at the top says view.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Okay. Well, it was on my attorney. Now it's on you again.
Okay, it's because you've got it on speaker view and I can't seem to talk you out of that. So I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. Normally, I would tell you to look at your attorney, and if she stuck up her hand doing this, this is her advising you to take the Fifth Amendment, because you have an absolute right not to testify about any criminal charges you have pending. Anything you say can be used, obviously, in your criminal case. However, by not testifying, the court can infer or imply, I always get those backwards, that you're not testifying because it would be bad against you. Now, since you can't see your attorney, before you answer any question, I want you to give Ms. Allen a chance to tell you whether or not she is advising you to take the Fifth Amendment. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Right.
So don't.
Amber, I just messaged you. Read
Okay.
it.
I read it.
Well, I don't know if she'll read it fast enough, but just don't answer until we'll wait and go from there. Okay. So
Thank you.
how long have you known Mr. Whitehead?
Since I was about 14 years old.
So a long time is fair. Okay. So in February 2023, when you were arrested for possession of a controlled substance, was Mr. Whitehead driving the car?
Yes. Oh, wait, I plead the Fifth.
She didn't say anything. Miss Allen didn't tell you to plead the Fifth, but you've already answered yes. That's all I'm going to ask you about it. Okay, Miss Allen?
That's fine.
Okay. When was the last time you had a visit with Lydia?
I would say it would be about a month and a week, maybe 2 weeks. I may be a little off. I got a little off because my grandma died, and that week was kind of
Give me a month.
Oh, okay. March.
2023.
Yes.
When was the last time you drug tested for Mr. Poston?
Okay, so it'd be March.
Why have you not visited since then?
Whenever I agreed to go into rehab, I didn't realize I had to be there in person to do the initial interview. And so I missed the first one, but we'd already said our goodbyes. And I didn't want to interrupt, her little life again, because it was really hard to tell her I wouldn't be home, for however long. She wouldn't see me for however long. And so that was hard. So I just kind of gave her a break on that. And we just did the FaceTime. And then whenever I went,
Let's back up. Which rehab?
the Nexus.
Dallas?
Yes.
And when did you go in?
I would say it was April 7th. When it should have been, it should have been the last week of March, but I screwed up.
And how long were you there?
I would say maybe 10 days.
And your grandmother died?
Yes, ma'am.
What was her name?
First, she fell down and broke her pancreas, and then,
What was her name?
Margaret. Pruitt.
Karen?
No,
Pruitt.
Pruitt.
She lived in Wichita?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when was her funeral?
May 11th.
When did you go back into rehab?
I have not gone back yet because a week later they took Lydia. So
Okay, so when did your grandmother die?
she died, I believe, May 3rd, maybe. She was in the hospital for a very long time, for about 2 weeks.
When did she go into the hospital?
The exact day I don't know, but I know that it was the last 2 weeks in April, within the last 2 weeks.
And am I correct that you have no bond conditions prohibiting you from having contact with Lydia, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How often did you FaceTime Lydia?
We would try to do it. We would try to do it every night before, and whenever I was drug testing and just seeing her regularly. But Aaron was
Wait a minute.
a little.
I didn't understand you. Could you say that again?
So whenever I was able to drug test and visiting Lydia regularly, we did every night because I sing songs to her and he reads stories. That's been her bedroom routine since she was just a baby. So we kept that going as well as we could. But Aaron was a little sketched out about the rules whenever I hadn't taken a drug test and I'd come back from rehab, so I didn't get to see her much then. But he was just trying to protect.
So have you FaceTimed her since April the 7th, 2023?
Maybe once, I think, one time. But Aaron, like I said, Aaron was a little freaked out about it. He didn't know how to react to it. He was waiting on me to kind of just go back to rehab and finish that.
So, okay, don't answer until we see if your attorney wants to object, okay?
Yeah.
When was the last time you used any illegal substance or a substance for which you do not have a prescription?
Amber, I'm going to direct you not to answer that question because I'm sure any admission would be a violation of the bond conditions that you have. So,
Okay.
So you understand she's asking you to take the Fifth Amendment?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
Yes.
Okay. When was the last time you had any drug test? Anybody, probation, CPS, Mr. Poston, anybody?
Rehab would have drug tested me when I went in.
April the 7th. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Department moves for admission of what's been marked for identification as petitioners 1 through 7, which are certified copies of Mr. Whitehead's and Miss Herring's criminal stuff.
Yes, Your Honor, I would object as to hearsay on petitioners for the probable cause affidavit. I understand that, or I assume that the department is going to indicate that it is a business record or something to that effect. I don't believe that the predicate has been laid for that.
I would just reinstate the same objection that Mr. Stilson made on petitioners 4, I believe, is the piece probable cause affidavit that he's referring to.
They are certified copies of records that have been kept by a governmental agency.
The 1 through 7 will be admitted over petitioners 4 will be admitted over objection. The court will not consider any hearsay.
But it's 1 through 7 is totally admitted, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Herring, during the time that Mr. Poston was in the hospital, and I'm referring specifically to we'll call it the snake bite incident, on or about Friday or Saturday, May 12th or 13th. Did you visit Lydia?
No.
Okay. Did you have any face-to-face contact with Lydia while she was with the Bushes?
No.
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Did you have any other contact with her, like phone or FaceTime or anything else while she was with the Bushes?
Not directly. Like I heard her playing, but I was speaking with Janet Bush. So.
Okay. Did Mr. Poston during this time ever authorize you to go get Lydia?
No.
Okay. Who made the decision to have Matt Whitehead pick up Lydia?
I believe that it was just kind of Matt kind of does the business thing with Aaron. And so he was going to be out. Janet wasn't getting out.
Objection, speculation. She just said, I think it was just, which I think is speculation.
I'm sorry, with the way that I worded it, maybe I should word it differently.
Okay, I'm going to sustain that. If you want to re-ask that question.
Would you agree with me, Amber, that based on what you know, again, that Mr. Poston was in a pretty serious medical condition at that point?
Absolutely.
He wasn't in the area, was he?
No, sir.
Okay. He was in a hospital bed in a different city.
Yes, sir.
After being care flighted there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. As we sit here today on June 6th, would you agree with me? It's easy to sort of Monday morning quarterback what could have happened if everyone had an unlimited amount of time to think about what should be done.
Absolutely.
Okay. But would you agree with me? It's more difficult to make those decisions when you're going in and out of surgery, having medication, and your ability, mental ability to visit with people and make decisions is somewhat impacted.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So whether or not Mr. Poston today would have asked Mr. Whitehead to pick up Lydia, he did, at your understanding, based on what you know, he did what he could at the time when he wasn't even in the city to make other accommodations.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Okay. I'll go ahead and pass the witness, Judge.
Miss Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Herring, how long did you say you had known Mr. Whitehead?
Since I was about 13, 14 years old. So,
Have you and Mr. Poston had a lot of conversations about Matt?
absolutely, yes.
And before the original hearing, where it was, there was testimony about Mr. Whitehead being on probation for meth. Did you believe him to be on probation for a vape pen?
Yes, that was initially what I thought it was for.
Okay. Did you have conversations with Aaron about that?
I guess in Pat, like whenever we first discussed Matt, like who Matt was, I told him, but a little bit, but he just really didn't ask about Matt's criminal history. It's not something you really about someone.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Would it be fair to say he did not know about the methamphetamine charge?
Correct.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Could you give us a little bit more background about Mr. Whitehead, other than his pending probation charge?
Yes. Let's see. I know that he was in the military. He went for Navy SEALs. He broke his back is the only reason why he left the military. He was accepted by the Navy SEALs and was in training. His father he ran the drug task force for 30 years. One of his brothers is a state trooper. One of his brothers is a motorcycle cop in Wichita Falls. His entire family is basically just police.
Okay.
was all, I mean, he were from Henrietta, so he's just a small town kid that,
Okay.
went on.
Thank you. Okay. And is that something that you talked to Aaron about, all of those things you just mentioned?
Yes. We would laugh about it. Yeah.
So Aaron had a pretty full picture of where Matt came from and who he was.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yes,
you guys would never specifically discuss the probation for anything.
No, it just didn't seem like, knowing Matt as a person and then knowing his background, like his parents are even still married, like nobody's still married, but Aaron and Matt had that in common. And they just kind of hit it up. But no, I mean, there's nothing that Aaron should have been alarmed by Matt.
Okay. And do you know if Matt's taking drug tests for probation?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Now let's talk a little bit about visitation. Miss Rush asked you about visitation. Is it fair to say that you didn't resume visitation when you came back from rehab because you didn't know when you would be going back in and you didn't want to disrupt Lydia's life again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You'll have to speak up because it's kind of hard to hear you.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Did you ever ride with Matt to take Lydia to daycare?
No.
Okay. And how old is Lydia?
She's 5.
Did you talk to Mr. Whitehead about picking Lydia up to take her to daycare?
I did. I orchestrated it between Janet, and Janet's kind of hard of hearing, and she doesn't speak real. She's very country, and so it's kind of hard to understand her unless you just know her. And she just so not speaking ill of her, she's wonderful, but she's a little hard to understand. Anyways, well, I just kind of orchestrated it between the two, I guess. Kind of let know what time to be there, let the other one know what time she was going to be dropped or picked up.
Okay. And what did Lydia have at school that week?
Did graduation on Tuesday.
Was she excited about it?
Oh man, she was so excited. She knew all her songs, so she was thrilled.
Is that why it was important for her to go to daycare on Monday and Tuesday that week?
Absolutely. I believe that they were practicing songs on Monday, and then Tuesday they, of course, perfected everything and then walked across the aisle an hour after daycare let out. So she would just stay there until graduation.
You mentioned
Okay, let's wait a moment. Y'all are talking over each other. So I need y'all to, Ms. Herring, if you'll just answer her question, Ms. Allen will come back and ask you if she needs additional details.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And you
Thank you,
mentioned
ma'am.
that Janet Bush was hard of hearing. Does she have any other disabilities?
She does have disabilities. I believe it's with her ankles, maybe her knees.
Okay. Would it be fair to say she doesn't get out a lot?
That's very fair.
Okay. Would it be fair to say she doesn't drive a lot?
She does not drive a lot. Hurts her knees.
Okay. Is that part of the reason why you guys had Matt pick up Lydia?
Yes, ma'am. And William would have already been at school.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, at work. School.
Did Mr. White had to have authorization to do anything besides transport her to and from school?
No, ma'am.
In regards to you and Mr. Poston, are you guys currently in a relationship?
We are
Romantic.
Lydia's parents, and we're getting through what we're getting through right now. But we will always be Lydia's parents.
Would it be fair to say that you're co-parenting to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Do you believe that you and Aaron have followed all the orders of the court in regards to supervised visitation and not visiting without drug testing and things of that nature?
Yes, Aaron's very, very, very diligent in that manner. He doesn't let me get away with anything.
Would you say he's protective?
Absolutely. She already took her once. He was not going to let anything happen to her again.
Now let's talk about Mr. Poston when he was in the hospital. Did you have any direct communication with him?
I did. Yes.
Could you describe to the court, to the judge, what he was like mentally in regards to any kind of medication reacting to him or the way he seemed or came off?
Objection. This goes beyond her abilities. If she's asking for just generic descriptions, but if she's asking for diagnoses, she's not an expert.
Certainly not.
If you'll rephrase that or narrow that question down, at this time, I am going to sustain the objection.
What was Aaron like when he was in the hospital when you spoke with him?
He was very groggy. He was very scared. He was, I didn't realize it at the time, but he was very out of it. Very, very out of it.
Did he seem like he was in a normal state of mind?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. Did you guys have conversations about what was causing that after that?
Well, I knew that he had had surgery, or he was waiting to go into surgery. They care flatted him, which was alarming. And they just put him on a bunch of pain medicine until they could get that hand surgeon in. So there were times he was more lucid than others. And those were the times that we discussed Lydia. But there were also times where he needed to go to sleep.
So you mentioned Aaron had told you that they had put him on pain medication?
Yes.
Okay. And did he tell you what kind?
Morphine and Dilaudid.
Okay. So would it be fair to say he was in and out of it?
Yes, ma'am.
How long has Lydia been going to see the Bushes?
Since she was born, I guess she was about 3 months old. I was before, so she was about 3 months old. She went and stayed the weekend, maybe once or twice. And that was before I went to prison.
Okay. Is she close to her sister?
She adores her sister.
Do you believe the Bushes to be protective of both of your children?
They are absolutely protective.
And in regards to the incident that happened in February, was Mr. Whitehead arrested during that incident?
No.
Did he have any narcotics on him?
No, ma'am.
Now, let's talk a little bit about where Lydia is currently at. Have you had visitation with her since she's been placed in foster?
Yes, ma'am. Twice.
Do you believe she's in a good environment?
I do not.
Why is that?
The past 2 times she's told us she's hungry.
Objection, hearsay.
It's not hearsay.
Sustained.
Judge,
Sustained.
I believe that if she is making an outcry of neglect, of being starved, I think that that is an exception to hearsay, and I believe that that should come in.
Overruled.
Then I object and ask one question on voir dire of the witness. One.
You may.
Ms. Herring, based upon what your daughter told you, have you made any sort of report to the hotline to CPS?
I have not. I don't even know their names.
Pass the witness. I still object, Your Honor.
I'm not going to allow what she's talking about in the conditions in her daycare and her foster home. So you may proceed, Miss Allen.
How has Lydia seemed since she's been in foster care? How has her spirit been?
At first, she's very down. She's very sad. She just asks to come home or to go home is what she says.
Objection, hearsay.
You cannot say what she is telling you, Miss
Okay.
Herring.
Got it. Thank you.
I'm going to sustain that. Continue, Miss Allen.
Does she seem like her normal self? Don't say anything she said to you. Okay.
And,
And
I'm sorry, Miss Herring. This is being recorded, and I can see you shook your head no, but I need you to answer out loud.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Please continue, Miss Allen.
okay, just to clarify, does she seem like her normal self?
No, ma'am.
And in what way?
She's very closed off, very quiet. She is reluctant to answer any questions about her caregivers.
Is that normal for her?
No, Lydia will talk to me about anything. Always, even on, it doesn't matter. She and I have a very close relationship. Lydia's not afraid to tell us anything.
So would it be fair to say she's acting very out of character?
Yes, ma'am, she is. Very much.
Does that concern you?
It very much concerns me.
What are you asking the court to do here today?
To let her go back home to her dad.
Do you think that's what's in her best interest?
That is the only interest. I mean, that's the only thing that would be in her best interest.
I'll pass the witness,
Ms.
Your Honor.
Herring, if the department is granted TMC today, where would you like for Lydia to be placed?
Elise Gardner,
And how does she know Lydia?
she's known Lydia She's the director of the young ages where Lydia attends.
Okay. Did you tell Mr. Poston that you were having Mr. Whitehead transport Lydia prior to Mr. Whitehead arriving at the school?
I believe, yes, Aaron was aware that we didn't really have anybody else to call. I can't be.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Rush,
No questions.
Mr. Stilson,
Amber, look at your chat.
No questions, Judge.
Your Honor, I'm going to object if they're passing notes on chat while she's on the stand. That is improper.
I can ask on the record what I just sent her in the chat.
Well, also, Judge, I'd point out that attorneys are allowed to confer with her. Well, I suppose it depends on what it was.
I don't believe she's allowed to confer while she's on the stand.
I'm just.
That's my issue, just because she's on the stand.
And
Ms.
Judge,
Allen,
I'll ask in front of everyone what I just asked her. Is there anything else you want me to ask you, Miss Herring?
No, ma'am.
That's all I asked.
Ms. Allen, do you have anything further for Ms. Herring?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Ladd? And Ms. Ladd, you were on mute, but for the record, you had nothing further, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Ms. Rush, any other witnesses?
Department calls Christina Gonzalez.